in today's episode, I will share with you my Coinbase Q3 forecast in depth, and I will go down each revenue item and why I think each one has a potential to grow and how much money they're making. Additionally, I will tell you why I'm wearing my space shirt, because we're going to the moon. Also, what am I doing with my Coinbase shares? Stay tuned until the end of the episode, as well as your moment of Zen. Let's jump into it.
Don't ask them, what do we know? What I forgot is better than whatever they remember.
Here it is, my Coinbase third quarter of 2024 forecast. If you're not familiar with my forecast, I produce this forecast as soon as I can at the end of each quarter. The quarter just finished at the end of September, and I do my best to produce a forecast that is very accurate so that my followers, my subscribers like you, know what to do. This may help you cut your position before the news hits the rest of the market and other investors get a chance to act on it. It may help you add to this position if the news is better than expected. Sometimes it's not much change and it's status quo from one quarter to the next. This may lead investors to sell off because they were expecting gains. They never showed up. They get impatient and they sell just before the stock takes off. According to Warren Buffett, you might have heard of him, the stock market is a device that transfers money from the impatient to the patient. And here we got a patient gnome just meditating, which is what I want to encourage you to do when it comes to Coinbase. In any case, this forecast should help you stay calm, collected, and make rational decisions, hopefully before anyone else. Now, I just want to introduce two concepts before we jump into the actual forecast. There are two timelines of investing. There's pre-headline and post-headline. Pre-headline means that you're basing your actions prior to the news becoming a known fact via headline for the rest of the market. There's always more alpha in the pre-headline. Alpha that is greater than zero means that the investment has outperformed the benchmark, indicating an alpha or excess return. But with alpha comes risk. Pre-headline investing means you're acting on analysis that could be wrong, like my forecast, good gut feelings, logical assumptions, and just not pure facts. There is a little bit of just logical assumptions, logical conclusions we have to get to if then what statements in order to invest in pre-headline news. This is how all the alpha is gained. Once it's already a post-headline, which is investing, you get confirmation via news headlines that something positive or negative has happened to your investment. If you see the headline, to a large part, it's already been priced in. And in the short term, volatility is just people discovering this news and buying and selling, which is called price discovery, by less informed than a rational investor running around like headless chickens. My forecast should help you avoid being a headless chicken when Coinbase reports their earnings in November for Q3. You should not be surprised at all by their numbers or by their guidance. I will produce a forecast for Q4 just before the earnings of Q3 that should also be pretty spot on of what they're likely going to guide. The stock will move either from what they deliver, whether they meet expectations or not, or how they guide the future, what they expect will happen in the future. Both of those things move the markets. Now, the markets are really good at predicting the actual results, like I am doing here today. There isn't always much of a surprise. It gets priced in by the time they release. What is not priced in is how they guide. Usually the guidance has an even more of an impact on the stock. So if you don't want to miss my forecast that will include the guidance for Q4, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss anything if you're investing in Coinbase or crypto. Let's keep it real. I'm not an oracle. I don't see the future. But what I do is some back of the napkin math that tends to be very accurate most of the time. At least for the last 3 quarters, I am the most accurate analyst in my opinion when it comes to Coinbase. Why? Well, because I am very invested in crypto and all I do is breathe, eat, and sleep crypto. And I keep a very close eye on it. Additionally, Coinbase has been really good with their guidance. At least most of the quarters, when I've done my forecast, it's been pretty close to their guidance. Only a few quarters, my forecast was far away from the guidance and expectations, and I was right. This is why the forecast is important, just a few days before they release their earnings. All right, so here is my forecast graphic. How to read this if you're not familiar. On the left, first, pay attention to the colors. Colors are important. The fastest way to see what is going on is right here, the delta triangle. Here I'll have my revenue that I expect between 1.2 to 1.4 billion. Right here you can see it's 1.265 at a granular level, but I'm saying a good surprise to the upside. I'm being conservative. The percentage change quarter over quarter is in the middle, so this is 13% less than Q2, and the absolute change, the absolute delta quarter over quarter, is 184 million. On the left side in green is all the ways that Coinbase makes money. This is all the revenue sources and categories they roll into. And then after taking expenses, you're left with operating profit, which is taxed. And then after that, you get yourself some net income. We're hoping that they're going to eke out some profit here. On the red is all the expenses, their R&D, the general administration, cost of transactions, sales and marketing, losses on crypto, interest expenses, and taxes. First, consumer fees are lower than the previous quarter by a lot. That's because crypto prices have gone down a lot relative to Q2. Coinbase charges a percentage of the volume transacted on their platform. So if crypto prices are down, that means that even if there's the same amount of people selling same amount of coins as the previous quarter, if the price is lower, then as a percentage, they make less money. Next, institutions. This is your investment institutions. They also have to pay to trade. They often can transact at higher volume, but they get to transact at a lower fee. Now, other transactions, this is a few things. Primarily is their layer 2 on Ethereum called Base, which we will dive into, plus other transaction revenue. The other transaction revenue was $28 million last quarter, and this total was 50. Ethereum had an upgrade in Q2, at the end of Q2, they made transactions cheaper on layer 2s. They almost cost nothing. So Base only took in about $7 million for this quarter. As transaction volume goes up and usage goes up, this should come back to a nice, healthy, large amount as expected. We will dive into this more. Stablecoins is the next revenue item. This is Coinbase's partnership with the company Circle that issues USDC coin, which is a stable coin backed by dollars that their customers deposit and get digital dollars, USDC. While those dollars are sitting in the Circle bank account, they buy US treasuries with them and earn 5% interest on $36 billion. This went up by $2 billion in the quarter, so they're making more stablecoin revenue. Next up is blockchain rewards. Coinbase offers staking as a service for blockchains that do staking. This is a way to secure the blockchain network by depositing the coin of each blockchain and then having equipment to run validation services, basically produce blocks. You can hire Coinbase to be a service provider for you by depositing your Ethereum, your Solana, your Polkadot, and then they will run the validation services for you, give you your rewards minus their cut, which is, I believe, 10 to 15% for them performing all the logistics for you. The biggest revenue source here is Ethereum. Coinbase has between 200 and 230,000 Ethereum, ETH, on their platform staking for their customers. The price of ETH has gone down a lot from Q2 to Q3, and the volume of ETH was actually higher. So it made up some of the difference, but this is slightly lower than the previous quarter. Next up, Bitcoin. Interest income. Coinbase lends out Bitcoin that they have for operations to their prime customers. Prime customers are institutional grade customers. They may want to do some sort of a trade that requires short-term loan of Bitcoin, and this is where Coinbase is happy to make some interest. Next up is Coinbase One. This is subscriptions on their platform by retail customers. Gives you lower fees on transactions, gives you insurance. I think up to $10,000 of trades are free per month. Very interesting revenue item. Also, they help you with your taxes come April. ETFs, as you know, Coinbase is a custodian for most of the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. So this is where they get those fees. And other is miscellaneous other income. After all is being said and done, they may walk away with a net income of about 20 million. This is if their crypto losses are only 107. By my calculations, should be between 80 to 150 million. So they may not have a positive net income, but they could sell some of their crypto on their books to make this a positive number, which I recommend they do. All right. Now, let's jump into layer 2, Base. This is important. Here's a quick refresher. Layer 2 is a scaling solution for Ethereum. Base layer 2 is a type of a blockchain technology that works on top of the existing Ethereum blockchain to make things faster and cheaper. Base is like adding an express lane on top of a highway where cars, in this case transactions, can move much quicker, avoiding traffic below. This makes it easier and less expensive for people to use applications that rely on the blockchain, such as sending money or interacting with digital contracts. I will skip some of this. Feel free to read it, but essentially, Base is one of the biggest layer 2s of Ethereum, and since a recent upgrade that made transactions much cheaper for layer 2s, the cost and speed has become what we have all been waiting for. About nothing and about 1 second. So it costs almost nothing to transact on the blockchain now, and if anything, a penny or two, and the transactions are fast. This gives a lot of use cases for crypto that we have been waiting for. Coinbase has made so far $72 million on their Base layer 2. There is about $6 billion of total lock value on Base. Obviously, this number can go up if a lot of that is Ethereum that's been bridged over. As you can see, it is number 2 only after Arbitrum that's been in market for years. Activity. You can see it's blowing up in red here. That is Base activity. Now, Coinbase, like I mentioned, has blockchain staking rewards as one of their revenue items. At the height of this quarter, they had about 230,000 Ethereum staked. So that's a 20% increase quarter at one point, but prices of ETH went down. So it kind of washes out. This is the trading pairs that Coinbase has most volume being transacted on their platform. Obviously, Bitcoin, the big dog, is about 30%, followed by stablecoins, and then Ethereum at 11 and Solana at about 6. Sui is becoming a popular trade layer 1, a fast alternative layer 1. It's at 4%, and Bonk was 3.4. Bonk is one of the premier meme coins. As you can see, stable coins have gone up $36 billion. Change about issued 2.5, redeemed 1.8 in the last 7 days alone. And here you go, the chart of USDC. is growing. Since January it was about 25 billion. Now it's 35. That's a 10 billion growth. Net income, like I said, the loss is between 80 and 50 million based on the prices of Bitcoin and Ethereum, where they ended Q2 and where they ended Q3 at. So on September 30th, what the prices were and how much ETH and Bitcoin they have on their balance sheet. They also have other crypto that is almost as much as ETH that is not clear which one. Assuming it's Solana, then it's not much changed. So we're taking a middle of the fairway estimate that it's about 80 to 100 million. Now, Coinbase rank in the App Store is an important metric because as it ranks higher, it means there's a lot more interest. It's starting to rank higher in September, and I will keep a close eye on this. If we get in the top 100 or top 10, that means there's many new users downloading the app. Higher the rank, that means we're getting an influx of new users and new money. Keep that in mind. Now, there is geopolitical turbulence in the world. World War III looks like it's more possible than ever. So crypto went down this week. Many think it's a risk-off asset. As risks increase, you take this risk off. But I believe that it's a risk-on asset. If there is turmoil, especially war in the world, crypto becomes more useful, not less. Is October canceled? Well, most of crypto Twitter thought that October is going to be Uptober, and I will show you a graphic that shows why. But there is a war in the Middle East, Iran and Israel. There's Ukraine and Russia. So, nuclear wars doesn't seem unlikely. And crypto is now an institutional grade asset that is going to be more correlated to the S&P 500. But let's see what happens during times of crises to the S&P 500. Well, if you take a look at this chart on the Substack that I published yesterday, these are different crisis events. Terrorist attacks like 9/11. Also, tech bubble. You see, it still trends up and to the right, regardless of threats in the world, unless, there is a nuclear holocaust and we're all dead and nothing matters. Hopefully we'll avoid that. And if there's a crisis, the crisis will pass and we will continue to go straight up to the right because money printer goes brrr. Now, why does crypto expect Uptober? Well, 80% of Octobers were green, as you can see here. 100% of election years had a green October, November, and December. 100% of the years that had a green September had a green October. So it's early. It's 4 days in October. October's not over for another lot of days. So October is still a very likely possibility. Let it cook. Lastly, why I'm still all in on Coinbase. Well, we're no longer early. It is crypto go time. As you might have heard for many years, in crypto there is this mantra, we are so early in crypto. Well, if you hear it now, whoever's saying it is wrong. We long awaited fast, cheap transactions to rival traditional centralized systems. And now we are here. We now have capacity and technical infrastructure to onboard the first 1 billion users to crypto. We have smart wallets brought to you by Coinbase that abstract the complexity of custodying your own funds, make it much easier to onboard new users. This is clutch. Now we have speed. We have 1 second transaction settlement on chains like Base, Solana, Sui, and others. Cost. It costs almost $0 to transact, making it much cheaper than 3% Visa charges. Why would you pay 3% when you can pay 0? Even if it's 1 cent or 2 cents, that would still be 1 or 2 cents regardless of the size of your transaction, not a percentage. So it's not a tax, it's a fixed cost, which is always better than a percentage. And then we have the unbanked billions around the world. People that don't have a stable currency like the dollar can now, with a smartphone, access a stable coin like USDC. They can access decentralized finance, where they can trade, lend, borrow, in a currency that is stable like the dollar. They can start a business and take payment and pay others using their smartphone when they might not have access to a banking system like you and I have in the West. This is huge. And lastly, if you're curious what I'm doing with my Coinbase shares, well, there's only one thing I can tell you. I'm not selling. I'm not selling! And I expect Coinbase to be more profitable in Q4 and have a stellar 2025, especially if crypto regulations continue to be favorable. To stay up to date to latest Coinbase forecasts, so you may act accordingly with your investments, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And now I give you your moment of Zen. Thank you for tuning in.
Crypto's chill, thought we were flying. Riding high, but the host dying. October dreams turn to sour. Crashes devour, folks thought they tower. Now they cower. We fight through thick and thin, all the hustle. Reality hits like a sudden muscle. Though we rise, but oh, here comes the peace. Turning the feast into famine like a vanished feast. The bull becomes a bear. From dreams that vanish in thin air. We ride these waves, ups and downs.